Hey everybody, welcome to the Sigma Alliance podcast, the Future Wells podcast. I'm Valen here from the Sith Lords Guild, part of the Sigma Alliance. We also have some other hosts for you here, so why don't we go down the chain, starting with Brandon. Tell us where you're from.
I am the guild leader of Sigma Chi. Recent promotion. I used to be the officer, but
Awesome. High five on that one. Alright, Face, tell us about yourself.
Hey, I am an officer of Sigma Deathwatch. That's pretty much it.
Alright, Furious.
Yeah, same as Face.
Okay, Sith.
I am the guild leader of Sigma Alpha.
And our fearless leader of the Alliance as well.
Of the Sigma Alliance, yes.
The Sigma Alliance, yep. Thane.
Yeah, I am part of Omicron. I'm part of the Greater Alliance community.
And this week we have Brendo was not able to show up for the recording, but we got his thoughts towards the end of the cast. So if you want to hear what he has to say about everything that we talk about, you'll get to hear that towards the end. So today we're going to talk about a few different things. At the end of the last podcast, we discussed a little bit of the new event structure and how we felt about that. Now that that's sort of been ironed out, essentially we know that it's going to be 3 months until we get the Mother Talzin event back, and then it's going to be on a monthly cycle. And along with that, it's sort of a similar thing for the Wicket event. And we also know that the Wicket event, once we have a 7-star Wicket and 7-star Ewoks, we can go into a special tier of that can unlock really powerful mods. And with Talzin, once we have her in the 7-star Night Sisters, we can go in there and get Zetas monthly once we have her unlocked. So let's just talk about how we feel about that event structure.
I think having to wait another 3 months before Talzin coming back is a bit ridiculous, just based off, with the need for Zetas on a more frequent basis. Waiting 3 months before the event comes back to even get started on getting Talzin up to 7-star it's not right. The same way it was with Wicket, but obviously with Wicket, was the second tier out, the last one Wicket originally came out for them, or I can't remember off the top of my head.
What was the question again that you had?
Was the bonus tier whenever Wicket originally came out, was it there to get the mods, or was it?
I can't remember if it was there or not, but it is now.
Pretty sure it always gave mods.
Yeah, with mods, they aren't anywhere near as game breaking as Zetas are. Like, while mods are very important, and strong mods especially, if you can get the right Zetas on your team, you could, that's how you get to the top of arena. That's how you do well on the likes of the raids. And the fact that you have to wait, it's not. I doubt it's going to be high amounts of Zetas whenever you are doing the thing. I think it's 4 at max you can get. But there's.
It's a 2-day event, so you technically can get 2 to 4 2 days in a row.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so up to 8 men per rotation. So that is, 8 Zeta mats that you would not have had, which, that is an improvement. And any improvement is something that shouldn't be looked in the mouth. The wheels need shorter going to take advantage of this, but the regular free-to-play character is just going to take forever for them to be able to get Talzin up to 7-star to lend benefit off these extra Zeta mats.
Yeah, because the Talzin farm, I believe, it's going to be like over a year to get her to 7 stars.
Well, it's going to be close to 2 years if you don't do any refreshes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if you do,
Well, wait, they're putting her in the Chromium, I thought, though, too.
Well, but that's
That's not free to
don't do
play,
that.
is it?
Yeah. Not really. If
You
you're
can
not
get
top in
free-to-play
arena,
For the most
by
part.
an occasional Chromium.
yeah. If you're not top in arena, you're probably not buying chromiums, or top in fleet arena or whatever. I do feel like if you decide that she's important to you and getting the Zetas are important to you and you want to spend a lot of money on it, then what you could do is you could save your crystals up, right? And you could basically refresh her event every time it comes around 2 times, so you can get up to 40 shards of her a month. And with that cadence, knowing that it's 3 months ahead, it's essentially like 10 months that it'll take you to get her around 10 months to get her if you spend the crystals to get her. If you
That's
don't
not
spend the
gonna.
crystals-
That's not gonna hold. I'm sure that they have something down the line. She's gonna come somewhere, somehow, some way.
Well, right now they haven't said anything like that, so we don't have anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Indicating.
But I'm just saying, we don't think they're gonna leave it at that, right? We all agree they're not just gonna leave it at that.
I don't know right now. The community hasn't been happy about it. Even the buy-to-play people, the people who spend money on the game, they're not happy about it, which is interesting to hear. So I have a feeling that, I don't know, if they were going to do anything, they probably would have posted it in the post they talked about the cadence from other Talzin in.
Kind of surprises me because I thought people would be happy. You know, she's not really required for a lot of things, so she just kind of something fun that's thrown in there. So
the problem,
I don't know why
really
people's
comes
like,
down,
I need it now. I don't have a way to get it now. Where?
Well, the problem doesn't come down to Mother Talzin. The problem comes down to the fact that the Zetas are going to be put people ahead who have her over people who don't. It's going to put the...
So it takes 7-star Mother Talzin to get Zetas, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it just took Night Sisters.
No, you need 7-star Mother Talzin and 7-star Night Sisters to go into the Zeta thing, and then you can start getting Zetas at that point from that. And
Interesting.
That could be, like you said, that could be up to 8. Like, not that it will always be 8, but it could be up to 8, which would mean that that's going to put the people who put money into the game and bought her and got her 7 stars even more ahead.
Well, you say it's going to be about 10 months until people are getting thousands, so the regular free-to-play person is going to be about 7 months behind in Zetas, so there's 7 times 8, which is 56 Zeta mats, which is nearly 3 full abilities, where free-to-play players, or people who aren't willing to put the extra shards, extra crystals into farming her, are going to miss out on.
Well, no, that's the thing, is it's longer than that. If you're not going to pay for refreshes for her, then it's going to be like closer to 2 years that you're going to have to wait to have her 7-star.
What do we think about her being in the territory battle shop when Darkside battles are released?
I don't think it'll happen. I think it'd be nice, but I don't think it'll happen.
I just don't think they're going to have a 12-month lady that sits in front of the Zeta wall. Like, that just doesn't seem like it would fly.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Thane, why don't you tell us what you think? We haven't heard from Thane or Sith, so why don't you guys talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, the biggest issue is that Zeta crunch. Because I mean, we're all kind of suffering from that Zeta crunch, but at the same time, taking away the mods, it's just a really crappy way of getting a character. Even if the Zeta or everything else just wasn't an issue, waiting potentially 2 years or 1 year to get one character, it's pretty long. Like, even if it was like a hard node, I can refresh it every day or every a couple of times, and I could I can test my luck. But with this one, it's like it comes around once a month, and it has very specific requirements, whereas a hard node does not. Like, a lot of people always compare that to like a hard node, and in a hard node, you don't need a specific team that you have to build in order to get it. Like, sure, it's maybe not that hard to build up the team to get her, but it's still like, if I wasn't going to work on Night Sisters, now I'm kind of forced to do so because of this specific, just to get a specific character. Whereas in a hard node, like, I didn't need to build up my Sith to get Nihilist from a hard node. I didn't need to build up my First Order to get, First Order TIE Pilot to do a hard node. That's where kind of my gripe comes in with this whole new way of getting this specific character.
Because I feel like they were trying to go for a hard node / legendary event type thing combination with this. Do you feel like it would be better if this event came back weekly versus once a month? That people would be less angry about it and it would not be as big of a deal. But the Zeta event only came back once a month.
Something like that could work, and I also think that maybe with the hat raid, I think. The kind of pace that we get GK, I think that's the acceptable pace. Anything past that is bordering on being unacceptable. So if they could kind of tier it so that we were going to get Talzin at a similar pace to how we get GK, I'd like that, because right now it's just ridiculous. But I guess one positive to take from right now is that if you're going to do it completely free to play, you at least, it's going to be about 2 years till you get her, so she's probably going to be completely irrelevant by that time. The game's going to be completely different by then. But obviously you're still missing out on the Zetas and other things. but the game does change very quickly, so there is some argument there for it's probably not going to have a massive effect long term, especially with the kind of gradual power creep we're seeing. Zeta's probably going to become easier to get down the road anyway.
This brings into the idea of what's the point of releasing a character if like most people have it, right? And most people are not going to be able to get it. And, it's going to be useless when people do end up finishing it off. I mean, even on a whale shard, for me, I've only seen like 2 Mother Talzins at 7 stars because most people look at it and they're kind of like, huh. I mean, I can give them Zetas, but they don't put it in a team.
Arguably, it's the most whale-worthy character in the last year. I mean, you're going to get a lot out of her, it looks like to me.
Well, sure, yeah, no, that's true.
Let me jump off of something that Sid said real quick. Like, he was talking about Kenobi. Like, we kind of have that thing with Hermit Yoda right now. Nobody is making a big deal about Hermit Yoda, but that's because, like, the characters like Raid Han, Kenobi, and Yoda, they feel like accomplishments. This doesn't feel like an accomplishment. Kenobi, some people might spend a year, close to 2 years to try to unlock them. Hermit Yoda, we should be seeing another year, another 2 years, depending on what kind of guild you are. But at the end of the day, when you get those characters, it feels like an accomplishment. It feels like dang, I worked with my team, I earned this character, now I'm going to be able to use it. Whereas Mother Talzin, it just feels like I'm going to throw money at the game and I'm going to get all these rewards from it. So I think that's where the big gripe between the two, the difference between the two is, where those characters, even though they may take maybe the same or if not longer to unlock, it's still an accomplishment that you feel behind it. Like when you get Kenobi, you feel like, damn, finally, I got him.
Yeah, I 100% agree, but I'm more thinking, even Kenobi, it's way less time to get Kenobi 7-star. 2 raids a week, 12 shards a week. It's going to be
more than
30
2
weeks. Well, yeah, fine. It's it's going to be less than 30 weeks, 25 weeks or something. It's about 6 months.
I think it's a consideration that you're like in a community like ours, but if you're like in one of those like really random like lower tier guilds who only have like 20 active people, you're probably still maybe about a year away from even attempting the hat raid.
Well, if you're in a guild that's got 20 members that's not going anywhere, then I don't think you're in the position to be annoyed that it's going to take you 2 years. If you're concerned about the game and concerned about developing, you should be in a better community. And why not? And there is the argument that obviously to actually farm Kenobi, you need a decent roster, but it's getting gradually and easier to reach hat anyway. And I'd argue that it's not very viable to go for Narcissus right off the bat anyway. So you're still going to have to be somewhat developed before you can actually even start getting Talzin.
I think it's important to say this, that there are people who do care about the game, but they don't have an understanding of the community. They don't have an understanding of the stuff that goes on YouTube, the stuff that goes on podcasts, and they're just sort of playing the game because it's a phone game, and they pick it up and they play it, and they enjoy it, and they invest a lot of time into it, but they don't necessarily have the understanding that, you need to be in this big guild, and you need to be a part of this, and doing this and that and the other thing. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that like you don't deserve to be.
Fine, that is true. I'm not saying they can't enjoy it, but I'm meaning surely if you're gonna wanting to develop in the game, you find it's not that hard to find a better group of players. Is what I'm trying to say here. You'd think.
So what he's trying to say is just get linked up to the Discord server. We'll set you up, and you'll be in a way better spot than that instantly. You guys are missing that. That's the point of that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
So yeah, if
you
you're struggling,
need to get linked up with
there are plenty of spots that we can put you in one. So if you're not in a guild that you like, there are plenty of places looking to take you if you would just put yourself in a position to be taken.
Yeah, you can get Discord, and I'll just plug this really quick if people are listening and don't know this. You can get Discord for your phone if you don't have a computer, because I know a lot of people who play this don't have computers. They just have their phone or their tablet or whatever, right? And so if you don't have a computer, you can download Discord on your device. It's free, right? And then look up whatever community you want to get involved in. You can get involved with us. You can get involved with somebody else. As long as you get plugged into the community, you'll have a lot of help.
But our links will be in the description. So.
Yes, absolutely.
And also moving on from kind of your point before, if someone is kind of just playing it as a phone game, just picking it up, playing it, they're probably not necessarily following on the forums.
Exactly.
So they may not even know about Talzin.
All they know is they see
They
this
don't- they know-
character that
yes.
they can't unlock.
Well, they can, but they don't realize when it's
Well,
coming
she's
back.
unlocked, but she's just at 2
Yeah.
stars.
If you got her during that event,
Well,
if
yeah.
you caught the event, if you didn't catch the event, then it's like, oh look, this character's here and I can't do anything with him.
I remember I sat wondering why I couldn't get Tuscan Shaman.
How was that released? I don't even remember.
He was Erodium,
Oh,
but he was in Erodium before I started playing,
I see.
so I kind of logged in and you couldn't find him anywhere.
So do you guys think maybe in the next 30 days it's worth putting a few crystals into Talzin?
I would
I
say,
think so.
you have 3 months. Okay.
So I'm thinking about it.
You've got 3 months to save. So what I would say is continue on your current path with whatever you're doing. Then over the course of the next 2 months after that, if you really care about Talzin and you want to get her, start saving the crystals for the refreshes for when the event comes back.
No, I'm thinking about
You mean
buying
buying
her
the pack?
5 to 30 because 8 Zetas is a lot, dude.
I don't know about buying the 5 to 30. If it comes
How
back,
many Zetas is that worth it to you in crystals, do you think,
yeah, but that's
It's a lot.
1,300 crystals for the pack versus
I mean, I hear you.
the same
but-
amount for 40 for 20 shards essentially.
I mean, I was thinking I'd do both.
No, if you have enough crystals, go for it. I don't.
It's tempting.
It would involve saving them and using them differently, obviously. But
Yes.
for 8 Zetas a month, the conversion might be there, is what I'm
So,
saying. How
personally-
many crystals are worth a Zeta, do you think?
Yeah, personally, I'm saving it.
Quite a lot.
In my opinion, personally, I'm saving my crystals, and I'm gonna spend them on the refreshes. If I have enough left over for one pack, I'll get like one pack. If the packs come back.
Because what did we unlock her at with the event if we maxed it out? Where's she
15,
at? 3 stars?
15 and 3, 15 into 3, I think, or 5 into
Okay.
3. I think.
Okay, so then she needs,
Yeah, it's
What?
15 and 3.
Well, I did the
she needs like
calculation.
300. She needs like 300 total to
Yeah.
max out, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did the calculations, and like I said, it's about 8 months.
No, what if you just bought her pack? I'm saying, how many packs would it take? 5 at a time.
5 at a time?
Yeah, assuming you got minimum drops, how many packs would it take you to max her out?
Well, you need an extra 290 based off you've got 315 from the event. So what's the minimum you drop on the packs? Because I never look at the packs.
It's 5, I'm pretty sure.
So 5. Get the calculator out.
40 something packs.
Okay, so that'd be
40
40 packs times what?
Maybe I
700
think it's like
crystals?
45 or 46, something like that.
Is that for
40?
7-star?
Well, if you're getting minimum, which is 5, it's 58 packs, but you're not going to get minimum in every single pack.
Right, and how much does the pack cost then? 700?
1,380.
Oh shit, that's way more.
I
Okay,
know.
so that's like 60,000, 70,000 crystals or so.
I think let's call it 50,000. Let's assume
Yeah.
you get some good drops. Let's be
So
optimistic,
if you do the
50K.
math, let's say you spent 50k crystals, that might even almost be worth like 20 Zeta mats on its own,
Possibly.
It's pretty close. Like, what's the most expensive thing you could buy with crystals compared to a Zeta mat?
Gear.
I don't know. Zetas are pretty hard to get.
So you're
know?
cutting
Yeah,
back
but it's
on
worth
gear
like
is what you're doing.
that's like what's that like
Yeah,
20
you wouldn't have to
G11s
cut
or
back on
something?
gear,
Stupid.
But like
Like
Finn, like I don't have
12.
Zeta Finn, and I don't have him planned for the future because that's a lot of Zetas I got to put in. So if I could pull some extra Zetas, I could use my resistance at like gear 8 or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I'm considering it. Like I said, I'm considering saving those crystals up
Yeah,
myself.
I just wanted to throw it out there. It's definitely something to consider depending
By
on
the
your
way,
roster because that's a lot of Zetas.
I'm completely free to play, so everybody who's listening knows. So I would have to save the crystals up. I get at this point, I'm getting about 100 to 150 from Arena, nothing from Ship Arena, and then just your basic daily crystals that you earn. So for me personally, if you're similar to me, where you get like top 100, top 50 in Arena, then it's probably going to take you about 2.5 weeks to save up 780, or sorry, about a week to save up 780 crystals for the one refresh. So it's about 2 weeks to save up for the 2 refreshes, and then additional crystals on top of that to buy the packs, right? When they
Yeah, you got to get your fleet up, bro.
that's a plan eventually, but we're not here to talk about me. I was just giving an example of what it would be like for free to play. Yeah, that's kind of how we feel about Mother Talzin. I mean, you guys, do you have anything else to say about the events and their structure, and if you think we should get another character like this, or do you think we should never get a character like this again?
Or do we think the Ewoks should have a Zeta on theirs too?
No, please no, no.
Well, I mean, if they're both going to be required, it would be kind of nice.
They get mods. That's the point. Is one is mods, one is Zetas. You know?
Yeah, but it's just mods compared to Zetas.
Well, that's why you don't focus Ewoks.
Well, yeah,
Bummer,
from the perspective of one less faction to have to get.
Exactly.
Because now,
See, I guess I'm thinking of
Ewok
it
one-
backwards. I don't think of it like one more that I have to get. I'm like, oh, if I want to get, I could get extra Zetas. Like,
Well,
that
yes,
was the
but
complaint for a while. They're like, hey, I can't get any Zetas. This sucks. How can I get Zetas? Now they're like, hey, bust out these ladies. You can get Zetas.
Well, no, I mean
Yeah.
it's bust out Mother Talzin, which is good. It's
Well, yeah.
gonna hold you back in the game. It just is if you go for her. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
she's
For a
gonna be a
long
pain.
time. So it's something to think about. Am I willing to be held back in the game in order to get these Zetas? Right.
because in my position, like I'm really tight on crystals at the moment. I'm refreshing quite a lot of hard note. Well, not, I'm spending buying quite a lot of normal energy, and then I'm also doing a lot of cantina farming just to get prepared for BBA and getting some dark side teams up, finishing off bays, nihilist. Yeah, there's quite a lot I'm working on, and also I'm trying to catch up with the gear. So I don't know if putting any crystals towards Talzin right now is even going to help me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, long term, the Zeta payout is massive, but setting myself back a lot, in regards to future dark side TV and arena progression and things like that. I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, I'd recommend to you. I would say for the next 2 months, continue your progression, see where you are at that point, and then if you feel like you're in a good place with all the stuff that you've been working on, then start saving the crystals. But if you still feel like you need to work on the stuff, don't do it. That's what I would say.
And I guess one thing is that, of course, the Night Sisters are going to be good for dark side TV. No matter what, I can see them being the equivalent of resistance teams even if they're not required for a specific battle, they'll still be used.
It's still months away, though.
Well, I know, but I'm
from
thinking
getting
about
there.
it because, I looked at, I'm a quite light side heavy person, and I still had to do, I still had to farm up like 2 teams for light side TP, and I'm not even done with that yet. So my dark side is a lot worse than my light side, so that means I'm going to have to do more work on it to get it to a good standard. So I'm worried about that because I
There's-
want to do better on dark side TP than I'm doing on light side.
There's a lot to be worried about, and so that's why we have to consider if it's worth it, and it's important for everyone to contemplate whether Talzin is worth it for you.
You could look at it from this perspective of the fact that right now it's 2 years for a free to play without spending any crystals on it to get Talzin to 7-star. The game's only been around 2 years. The amount of change we've seen in 2 years, it's almost definitely going to be irrelevant by that point. The game is going to be completely different by that point. So, don't be too mad if it's going to take you a long time because I'm sure Zetas will be much, much easier to get by that point. So it's not necessarily going to be as big a disadvantage as we think.
Now, here's
Something
a
to keep
question.
in mind too, before you forget, is that you do get crystal rewards from your territory battles once you start ranking higher. And I mean, the more time that goes on and the more characters released, that galactic power is going to jump and jump and jump and keep going up.
Honestly,
So pretty soon our crystals are going to be triple.
yeah,
Yeah,
Originally it was
but
just
then
arena.
it-
Now it was fleet too. Then it's going to be TB. I mean, that's triple crystal production.
what do we think? So going on here, what do we think about the Ewok? The Ewoks, sort of as a whole, like the Ewok faction. How do we feel about the Ewoks, and also them being needed to farm for this whole Wicked event? Do we think that it's something that is important, or should we just mostly ignore it?
The Ewoks are a good faction overall. They're definitely a very PvE faction, sort of like the Night Sisters in that regard. They do amazingly well in the AAT raid and in the Rancor raid, obviously. As far as like being needed for stuff, I mean, some of these characters aren't that extremely hard to farm. Like not including Wicket, and they are needed for platoon. So like if you are more of a mid to end game, player, I would say go for it. Go ahead and farm them, help out your team. But if you're a beginner, and unless you're in like one of those like lower tier guilds where you really want to get them to like a hat or not a hat, a heroic rancor, then it might be worth an investment. But as far as like going all in, there's better factions out there. It's really not a beginner. I'm even hesitant to say it's a mid game squad. It's more towards the later game that you would want to invest in them.
Are you personally going to invest in them?
The only one I'm actually farming is Logray, and that's because he's in the guild shop, and I don't really have many other ones to farm from there. As far as like the one that I think it's who's the one that's in Cantina?
Come on, you make me answer this. Is Poplu.
Poplu is the one in Cantina. So that guy I'm not going to be farming anytime soon until. See, the problem with the Cantina ones, like this goes across the board for any characters, unless they're like really meta characters. I don't farm from Cantina because of mods. Mods are just a much better investment in the long run. So that's where I just spend most of my Cantina energy. It's just farming mods.
Okay.
Yeah, I would second that. Unless it's somebody that's required for an event or that's gonna like finish up your team, then mods.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely characters you need to get for sure, but
well, yeah, like old Ben, and there's people that you can't get around.
Yeah.
The way I see the event is really, it's very different to the Talisman event, where the Talisman event, obviously, it's giving us Talisman, but it's also going to give us a lot of Zetas. This event, it's really only giving us a very slight boost in mods. Really, yes, we're going to get some nice gold mods, but realistically, it's not going to give us that big of a boost when you think of the actual chance of speed rolling on them, even when we upgrade them. So it's not nearly as a significant event as the Towson event, which means that I'm happy to just completely avoid it. Really, the only real benefit from it is getting Wicket, so that Wicket would then help me to be able to run that like 20 mil damage hat team. But apart from that, there's no real kind of pull for me to really work on it, especially since I think, as people have said, Paplu is a Cantina farm, so I wouldn't want to do that. And then just generally, I don't really want to give them gear.
Yeah, I personally have no plans to gear them anytime soon, even for that mods event. And I don't have any plans to work on starring anyone specifically. I already have 3 of them. 2 of them at 7 stars, 1 of them almost at 7 stars, just because of the packs, the free packs you get. But I don't see any reason to go after them for myself. I have more important things to work on, and I think most people do have more important things to work on than them. I'll get around to them eventually, probably towards the end of next year sometime. But for now, I'm good.
And actually, I quite like having them because it does give the pay-to-play something to work on. Sure. And yes, it will give them something. It's going to get them a little bit of help in Arena, but it's not enough. It's not like giving them 100 extra Zetas like the Towson event is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm perfectly happy for them to have that advantage because fair enough, they're going to spend hundreds of pounds, dollars, whatever, to get these characters.
Well, and when it comes to this Ewok event, personally, I see it as something to look forward to. Like that's a fun event, in my opinion. Like going up against the AAT and fighting the AAT with the Ewoks. It's kind of a fun little thing to do, and I look forward to the point at which I'll be able to do it on a monthly basis.
Yeah,
and
well,
then,
it was more fun. It was more fun when they gave us the characters.
Yeah, well, and then
mine got slaughtered.
What I'll do is once I'm actually able to do it, I'll then have something else to look forward to. The mod event eventually when I'm able to unlock the character. So it gives me something to look forward to without really taking much away from me. Right? The Zetas take away from me. The mods really don't that much.
Oh, right. I thought I had my mic muted there. With Ewoks, like, I'm not really going to focus on any of the Ewoks, bar maybe Tebow or any I get in the free packs, because Tebow has use in raids, but I don't really see the purpose of going for Ewoks as a whole, because they're not going to be that useful to me in the long run. It's just going to be taken up. This is where I could be grinding for other characters that are more useful for my teams. Like you mentioned about Papalu being in Cantina. At the minute, I'm having to grind out Kylo Ren, Old Ben, and Captain Han Solo just off the top of my head of three I need to work on in the next couple of months.
Wait,
So
Cup?
there's
Do you say Cup?
Captain Han Solo.
Oh, Captain Han Solo. Okay. Sorry. Go on.
So there's three characters, but it's going to take me a large amount of time to even get up to 7 stars. And after that, there's probably going to be other characters that I'm going to have to work on that I just don't have access to at the minute, or I haven't thought about using. Like, does Finn have a Cantina node? I'm pretty sure he does.
Yep.
So there's Finn, who's another character that I'll be working on for a Resistance team.
He's
so
the only one. He that's the only place you can get Finn, isn't it?
I think he has hard nodes.
he has hard notes.
Does he? Okay. Well, still, it's better to get him from there than from hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, of all the characters who I can think of off the top of my head in Cantina, there's a lot more characters I'd rather go through Cantina for than I would, buy them in the stores or even hard notes. Like Jedi Knight Anakin, if I ever want to use him 7-star, it'll be easier getting him through Cantina than getting him from his hard notes.
But I don't farm him.
Yeah, don't.
Well, yeah, it's
Not worth it anymore. A year
yeah.
ago, yes.
like, and then in the hard notes, in the next couple of weeks, I would say more than months, I'm going to be hitting the level where I'm going to be able to go for the tier 9 of light side and dark side battles, where I'll be able to then go for the highest nodes and the hard modes, likes of Krennic, Shore Trooper, things like that, which are just going to take up so much time and energy. So it's not going to be viable from there. So, I mean, I'll take the ones I get for free from the free packs, but I'm not going to grind them out anytime soon.
Okay, so the first time we had the Wicket event, I actually really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people seem to find it boring, but I quite like testing out the Ewoks because it's quite fun to play the synergy. So obviously, the first time they gave us the Ewoks, so it was all fun. We could all do it. This time, my Ewoks kind of got slaughtered, so
Me too.
wasn't so fun. But again, I'm looking forward to being able to do it sometime down the road because I do have plans to bring my Chirper up. In a few months' time. I was farming Chirper, but then I think I had to go switch to Han and Captain Han, and then I've since farmed Finn, and I'm going back to Han, and I've got Kylo. So I've got a few things to work on before I go back to Chirper, but I will farm Chirper, and eventually I'll probably get Papalu, and then so I'm looking forward to doing the Ewok event. I think it's a nice little event we can do. It's going to come around every month. It's not. I don't feel pressure to do it. But at the same time, I am looking forward to being able to do it. And then for the Night Sister event, again, this time I was unable to attempt it as I do not have all the Night Sisters at 5 stars, which was quite annoying. And it's more annoying because that means I'm actually missing out on Thousand Shards, which is setting me back on Zeta farming. So I'm hoping that I can have Thousand, or the 5 Night Sisters ready for next time. Is it 3 months until we get her again?
3 months. Yep.
Yeah. So I should have the Night Sisters done for then. And I'm looking forward to doing the event. I think it'll be fun.
The one that I really enjoyed was the Ewoks one. It's it's fun to play around with. Feels like a little mini raid. The Night Sisters ones, it was same old. The one that I actually really enjoyed, it's that new event, the Secrets and Shadows, the one that has like Kylo as a poster boy.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I like that one as well. Actually.
Too. Yeah.
That one I really, really enjoyed. That whole concept of like you get like little mini bosses like that Sidious in the middle, stuff like that. That stuff is great. That's something I would have wished that they would have at least implemented in territory battles, where maybe instead of like 6 waves, you had like they had maybe like 4, and then that last one was like a big boss instead of having all these different elites that are annoying. I really enjoyed that one overall.
Well, yeah, I love the idea of having those elites. Well, I certainly liked it until he was one-shotting my guys. Then it wasn't. Then it wasn't so nice.
My whole squad died.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have tried it and done it. Maybe got lucky with it, but I didn't manage to beat the wave 4 of the second one. Yeah. My Phoenix was just a little weak.
Gives you another reason to whip the Phoenix up. That's for sure.
Well, yeah.
I've really enjoyed the little taster Night Sisters one, the one where it gives you like all of them at 7 stars and level 85, and you're up against the CLS team.
Oh,
That's
you're
for
talking about the Flash event.
Yeah, the little flash event thing, which honestly, it makes me want to go for Night Sisters based off that one little event, but also I know how long it's going to take me, and it's just completely put me off at the same time.
Mm. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Flash event for the Night Sisters. I liked that, but today I couldn't be bothered to play it. I just autoed it.
I enjoyed it. No, see, I did want to talk about the Night Sister event for a second because apparently not a lot of people got to play it on the podcast here. I really enjoyed it because what they did with it is they sort of told the story of the Night Sisters from the Clone Wars with the event. You went in there and you fought against, you were defending Dathomir from the droids, and
Oh, cool! I love those episodes.
yeah, and so you kind of relive those episodes. In fact, one of the things that I did was I kind of watched those episodes while I was playing it, just
cool.
for fun, and it was fun because those it reminded me of those episodes of the Clone Wars, and it made me, I fought against Count Dooku, you fight against General Grievous, you fight against the B2 Super Battle Droids, all that kind of stuff, and it's great.
So, was it somewhat like the Luke event then?
Yeah, it was like that, only it was on Dathomir, and there was quite a few different Dathomir maps on it. You start off on the outside of Dathomir, and then...
So it was similar, except we didn't get to sacrifice Ben this time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It was funny,
that.
I actually didn't piece that together at all because I was using my Phoenix, and I was just pew, 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 pew. I wasn't thinking about anything.
Yeah,
It totally does. You fight Dooku, Grievous, everybody.
Yep, the defense of Dathomir. It's really cool. So it was great. Yeah, those events were really fun, and I'm really happy they added them. Furious, what did you think about the Ewok events?
I like all the events. I think it gives you an excuse to use some random people that you never get to pull out of your box. So I think that's a lot of fun. Got to use my Phoenix again for something. I was like, oh, cool. Wow, nice. Really? Which was random, but I'll take it.
Recently, we had a post from CG on the official forums. And this post was... A few of the key things that I wanted to talk about here today were things that they're saying you're not allowed to do this on the forums at all. Well, the first thing is posting with Capital Games or EA in the title of the thread is discouraged. It could possibly lead to the thread being taken down. They say they take all feedback seriously and to heart, and by posting in these forums, they understand that you're addressing them, so these types of titles are not needed. The next thing was they don't want you to call out moderators or officials on the forums. Rather, they want you to direct message them. They will lock any thread that calls out a moderator. No posts on refunds. They don't want you to discourage other users from making in-game purchases. That's their exact words. They don't want you to discourage other users from playing the game. They don't want discussions of moderation. And posts bashing, this is a big part, posts bashing EA, CG, and the dev team or the moderators. And posts on how the game is dead and how it's going to die or anything along those lines. And these are their exact words as I'm saying this. So these are kind of the main things, because I feel like a lot of these things can have a negative impact on the community's ability to communicate with the developers, the community's ability to communicate with each other. Don't think it's solved by just saying, hey, Reddit exists.
Okay, so my kind of first impressions from reading this post is that, I could have probably written something similar if I had guessed at what they were going to write for this post. I wouldn't expect anything different, really. And, you say we shouldn't just be saying, well, let's go use Reddit, but, really it is their own forum, and they don't want anything negative around the game. They don't want anything making them look bad. They don't want to deal with kind of bashing. So it's their area, so I'm happy for them to say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, and so on.
I'm pretty irritated with this post because I felt like it was a slap in the face and it was really unnecessary. For one, it's their forums. If they want to remove posts or they don't like what people are saying, they could take it down or block it or close the thread or whatever. They don't need to post a rule sheet. Like, that's just drama, like unnecessary. Who benefited from that? Did you read that and go, oh, I guess I'll stop doing all of these things that I was doing previously?
Well,
No,
what
it's
it
like
made me
it's like having a big sign in the forums that says, hey, don't beat your wife. And then you go home, oh, I read the thing, I guess I'll stop beating my wife. Like, that somehow helps anyone. People have problems and they vent. Like, it has nothing to do with fucking reading the rules or whatever. People know they shouldn't be doing that. You go to any game, they're going to do it. Like, they'll make a second account and do it just to say these things on the forums. It's never going to go away. So what they need to do is address their problems instead of saying, hey, guys, quit saying that we have a problem.
I agree. I felt like...
Right? I mean, these people have legitimate complaints. They're like, hey, shit's screwed up. Fix it. What the hell? Why don't you fix it? Please fix this. And then they never do. And then these people are like, this game is dead. I'm dead. And they don't know what to do. They're frustrated.
I feel like this discouraged me. I've never posted on the forums before.
Me too.
This made me less likely to post anything on the forums because
Agreed.
My opinion is what do they... This is vague. The problem is this is vague. It's very, very vague. And I know why it's vague from a legal perspective, why it's vague. Okay?
Yeah, because it opens the door for them to close it on you.
Exactly. So, but the problem is, with it being vague, you're closing the community out from really saying anything or doing anything. If you can't talk directly to the developers, what's the point of a forum? None. There is no point. And so if you're not allowed to talk to the developers, you're not allowed to say, hey, look, this is something going on. Like, listen, even the MMO that I play, people are allowed to link developers in that, like, from specific development teams. You know, so I'll just say this. I play ESO. And one of the things that they're allowed to do on the forums is, like, they know there's certain developers that work on gameplay systems or PvP or whatever. And if there's a PvP issue and they want to post about it, they'll post it and they'll be like, hey, at this developer, this is going on. I just thought you might want to see it, you know, and here you go. I sent a thing in, I sent a bug report in, but I thought you might want to see it before the bug report got in. And then those developers come and say, hey, thanks for letting me know about this. I'll put it in my, my bracket of things to take a look at. And that's a healthy community. What they're doing here, in my opinion, is they're setting themselves up for a very unhealthy relationship between the developers and the community, and they're setting themselves up for not really having a very healthy and vibrant community.
The second one that's a really bad one that I felt like was really minor and unnecessary is the no sharing about your returns and whatnot. That's ridiculous. So what if I'm like, oh, I got screwed and you got screwed in the same way and I'm bummed and you're happy because you got your returns. So what? You can't share that with me so that I can enjoy equal treatment? Like, what? How does that make any sense?
You can't tell others how to get a refund or request a refund from the development.
So, like, if I'm all bummed because I got screwed on something, I'm like, oh, this sucks. You can't just be like, oh, bro, they'll totally help you out. I mean, that just does not make any sense.
It's silly. Well, I remember I got a refund a while back. Like, I spent some money and it was a mistake, and I lost the money because the pack failed to go through or whatever. And I called them up and I talked to a real person, and they were like, yeah, let's deal with this right now. And they dealt with it. And we fixed it, and I got my money back, and it was great. So why can't I go on there?
If you would have started that conversation with, my guildmate Furious told me to come here, they'd have been like, nah. Like, according to the new rules, they'd have been like, nah, you broke the rules, dog.
Well, it's because they have to give you a refund if you ask for it, so they don't want you to know how to ask for it.
And I get that, but that's just like it's just something you don't need to say. They might as well say on the forums like, hey, no sacrilege, no burning goats. It's like all these things that like are bad you don't want them to do. You don't need to go through them all. It's like,
it's pretty obvious. Really, and that's the other part is where you say like, no post about religion. Duh, we're not here to talk about religion.
Like, why don't they just go into all that? They might as well, because it's the kind of watering.
They did. They said no posts about political and religious discussions. No.
Well, that's them trying to legitimize it. Make it sound like it's not just them trying to turn on, YouTube comments where they can only have on there what they want. They're trying to disguise the fact that they're trying to just completely control what goes on there, and they're gonna try to make it like a place where people are just putting positive things like, I'm so happy with the new update, because that's all we're gonna have on there now, isn't it?
Well, and I think it's important that we separate this, and I just want to say this because it's important for people to understand. This is not the development team doing this. This is not the people who are making the game. Do not yell at the developers for this form thing. This is an executive decision. It's important that people understand the difference between the executive decisions at the corporate level and then the developers and what they're doing. I truly believe the developers themselves want to have a good relationship with the community. They want to foster a strong community. I think they do. I just think that EA is not doing so good with letting that happen with stuff like this going on.
Going through the rules, like, I understand from a business perspective all these things, and I agree it is their forum. They don't want bad things being said about it. But, and that's like, I'm going to agree on Sif with things that he said, but I'm going to go straight down the middle. Like, people, I don't use the forums personally. I go on the forums every time there's a patch update, read through the notes, and that's my use of the forums. I don't post on it, things like that. And a lot of it is, common sense, but things like the no refund topics that was said, and no boycott things, going through no advertising. Like, under that, guild advertising. Like, while there's, most people now use Reddit for it, but, you can't advertise your guild, which is an in-game feature, on the official forums. And,
you also can't you also can't advertise your videos or your streams.
Yeah.
I just want to bring this up. The forums for the Elder Scrolls Online, they have a section dedicated to guilds. Like, they just made a section for guilds. So, like, if you want to go and you want to try to find a guild, you want to become a part of a guild, you can go to that section of the forums. Why they don't just
there's
do
a
that
massive
here?
unofficial section for that on here. Someone's made one, I believe.
Did someone... Are they allowed to now?
I don't know. It's been around for since guilds came out. There's been a whole guilds area for recruitment.
But is it a section or is it just a thread?
Pretty sure. Well, I don't know. But
Okay.
you'd think that they'd just accept that that's a commonly used part of the forums. Why say you can't do it anymore? That's just going to upset people.
Oh yeah, it's like I said. This is very negative for the community, in my opinion, as a whole.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm still going to stand by. It's their forum; they can do what they want. But I agree, it's very negative. Same as some YouTubers have put it. So they approve comments. So just it's their video. I don't mind if they do it, but it's damaging.
It's not going to help
relationship. Yeah, it's damaging the relationship with their fans. People are going to hate them for it. They're going to have more people. People are going to go to other places and then bash them even more.
Exactly.
It's not helping them at all.
The fact that
Plus,
we're
it's
having
kinda
this discussion is not helping them, and I think they should see that is a negative for what they're doing here.
Yeah, I agree.
This discussion shouldn't even be needed.
I was going through all the things that they said you're not allowed to do, and there's no mention about posting up things like spoilers, which, of all the things here on a Star Wars thread, you'd think spoilers would be one of the most important things.
They don't care. They're not Disney.
Doesn't that go under advertising, technically?
No.
Oh, and I love this. I do want to bring this up because they said, what about people who say, I have a free speech / First Amendment rights? And they bring this up specifically because this is true, by the way, what they're saying here. Say, this forum is a privately owned space. It is run adhering to the terms of use and forum guidelines. These are guidelines you agreed to abide by upon creation of your forum account. If you post content and violations in said guidelines, it will be removed. But, by the way, this forum post that you're reading right here is not the guidelines. I highly recommend that if you're going to post on the forums, you do actually go read the actual guidelines for the forums, because they are different than what is posted here right now, currently. They are different. So it's like you're saying, don't do all this stuff, it's bad, and we don't accept it and we'll kick you off. But like the official statement of what you can and can't do is there in the in the forum guidelines that you agree to. right? And if this stuff is not added to that, not that this would ever happen, not that anyone would ever do this, but it is possible to sue a company if they kick you from the forums for doing something that wasn't laid out in the guidelines that you agreed to. So that's just something to be aware of. That, you know.
Well, no one, I think, is
It's
going
gonna
to
try
try
get
and
banned.
sue the game based off. It's just not going to be worth what they could potentially make. It's going to cost them more in legal battles than anything else. Like the anti-bashing thing, I understand, but I also don't understand the same way, because if there's people bashing your game, that means there's something definitively wrong with it. Now, there's always going to be people who are a bit, you know, oh, I started the game yesterday, I'm not level 85, you know, the game sucks sort of thing. And those people, I agree for things like that being stopped. But people who are genuinely bashing moderators or bashing the game or whatever for genuine reasons,
Yeah.
like people bashing the fact that events are being dropped with like 2 days notice, you know, that is a genuine reason to bash the game, and that is something that people should see. Like if someone comes on to the forum and it's all, oh, we love the game, oh, there's nothing wrong with this game, then they go and play the game, they're going to go, oh, their forum community sucks, let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's, well, the
Here's
thing
what
is-
I don't like.
Go ahead.
They have a person or persons that are designed at this job to go through the forums and basically moderate the community, right? They have them like what's called a community manager, right? They're supposed to manage the community. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're only managing the cupcake, you know, rainbow applesauce land posts that are now allowed, then you're missing out on a lot of people who probably have legitimate concerns. Maybe not all of them, but there might be people that actually know important things that would be very useful to get out there information-wise into the community, not only for people at the company, but for people who play the game.
Like I
So
said,
by
posting
saying
a
like,
bug.
by saying, hey, you can't go this way or you can't go that way, you're limiting the flow of information. And by limiting the flow of information, inherently, you're going to have less ideas get through that could flower into something great.
Here's a perfect example. There is the problem with the tank raid on the last update, where you go into phase 2 and the gun was automatically up and just killed you when you brought the tank back up from being down, right? That was a bug, and if someone could have posted that on the forums way before anyone else got anything out, I bet somebody would have, and somebody would have been like, hey, look, you know, this is a bug, it's happening right now, please fix. And the developers would have gotten that. But with these rules, you can't do that, right? Because they're so vague. You're like, well, is that bashing the game by saying there's a bug? Is that like doing something that is not what they want me to do on the forums, so I can't actually tell the developers about something bad that's happening? And let's be honest, they don't really have a good system for submitting bug reports in the game itself. So how do you submit bug reports except for, you know, going on the forums or private messaging a developer? You know, one of those two things. But, you know, most people aren't going to private message a developer. They'll just post on the forums, you know, really quickly. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a major problem, not having a good bug system for posting bugs and things of that nature, and actual problems that may be happening in the game. That now the developers, now what EA is doing is they're gimping their own developers. It's what they're doing, because the developers aren't going to know about stuff unless they themselves go out and seek out videos on YouTube and Reddit and all this other kind of stuff. The forums should be a centralized place for developers and the community to talk to each other, right?
And that could be good or bad.
They're
It doesn't
taking
need
that
to be-
away, is what they're doing.
If anything, they should learn, like, man, we got a lot of anti-Semitic, random, angry people in here. Like, they should know that if that's a thing. Like,
Yeah,
it's still information that they could use to their advantage.
exactly. You know, anything is important for them to know. And if they're not going forward with it, and if they're just locking it down, most people are going to just go on the forums and not go on the forums anymore. I know I'm not. Like, what point?
I won't post on the forums because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I only went on there to get recruits.
I only go on there to read the
Patch
updates or whatever.
Yeah, that's the only reason I go on as well. I don't even have a
Oh,
forum
yeah.
account.
Yeah, or if there's like a by updates I mean any kind of community related thing. Sometimes
Yep.
they say stuff that's worth reading too.
Yeah, but if you're a Reddit person, if you're someone who likes Reddit, you literally could just go, and most people post those posts on Reddit. You copy paste them over.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Where you're allowed to say what you want and be free still.
The biggest problem with Reddit, though, and I want to bring this up, is I don't know about the SWGH Reddit very much. I go there a little bit. Personally, I try to stay away from Reddit because my experience with Reddit has not been a good one in the past. There's a lot of negativity and a lot of just bad people, I find, in Reddit. There's some good people that are posting on there helping people out. But for the most part, I've seen like a lot of negativity about games and different things in the different Reddits for different games and such. So I personally try to stay away from it because it's like not the best place to go for community, in my experience. I don't know. What is your guys' experience with it?
Well, I use Reddit at least once a day, where I will go and check out a few subreddits that I with. Because I'm interested in things like wrestling, I will check out things there. And now some of the communities I am in are just toxic. Like, they're not good communities to talk in. You go in to get your information and you get out as quickly as possible. Yep. But there is other communities where you can go in and talk to, and there's people there who are genuinely nice people. But the general consensus is Reddit. If it's game related or anything where you can have any form of very, very, very conflicting opinions, that a lot of people aren't going to be as nice to you as, on the likes of privatized forums for a game, because people are going to go and be able to abuse you on a higher level there than they can on a forum.
I quite like Reddit. I mean, I've not had any negative experience with Reddit. I quite like using it from time to time. Again, the only main use I'd have with Reddit would be to go and recruit people. But I've communicated with a few people via Reddit and had some good discussions. So I'm definitely going to continue using Reddit a little bit.
Is there any other options for people, for community, except for private like servers on Discord? Like, is there any opportunity for a larger community gathering other than Reddit and the forums? Like, where else could we go? What do you think?
No, well, there's kind of the YouTube community, the stream community, let's call it, and then, well, except for Discord, and Discord's the main community, I'd say, and then there's Line, which some people use, I believe, but not so much, and then kind of the YouTube community. But there's nowhere else, really.
Podcasts, I guess, would be there too, right?
Yeah, but like, I mean, a forum for people to communicate with each other, and and.
Well, that's supposed to be what the forums are for.
I know, right?
But here we are.
Yep. So that's that, I guess. Well,
they need to focus on other things, fix the ticket counter and stuff.
Yeah, right. So the next bit, which kind of goes into this nicely, is there was a survey that was sent out, and I know most of us didn't actually see the survey ourselves. There's a survey that was sent out about the game, and what's been going around the community is that a lot of people are giving negative feedback about territory battles in the survey. And that is going out to the developers, and they're seeing that. How do we feel about the fact that number one, this survey got sent out, and then number two, about just the negativity that people are having towards TB? And
I don't think it's an if. Does anybody disagree? TB's pretty negative.
Personally, I love TB. I don't know. I'm like an outlier.
I don't mind TB. I don't mind TB either.
Yeah,
I don't dislike TV.
There's a difference between not disliking it and not minding it and actually enjoying it.
I enjoy it.
I don't.
You don't enjoy it? You don't have fun?
I don't particularly enjoy it. I look forward to it, because it means that I'm going to get some more gear. And I like that aspect of it. And, it doesn't take up too much of my time, but I can definitely see why people wouldn't enjoy it. But at the same time, I wouldn't want them to stop doing it because people are complaining. Because at the end of the day, it's a bit more effort per day, and it's going to accelerate your progress in the game quite a lot.
I know.
So if it was to not have territory back, that's my scare. With tournaments, they got a lot of negative feedback, and then they stopped them.
See, I don't think they need to stop it. Just tweak it or change it. It can't stay.
No, I know, but people always give a very over the top reaction to anything. Anything they're upset about, they get a very, very negative reaction from it.
I agree. Yeah, but I feel like in this case, it's pretty justified. TB is pretty ugly.
Well, so how would you fix it, Furious?
How many snow troopers can you punch and be happy?
So, Furiously, how would you fix it? What would you do? Give a solution.
I don't think that there's a fix it, but if I was just one thing or two things that could be simple changes that would make life better would be this. First one, take off Rogue One. Get the hell out of here with Rogue One. Why is Rogue One involved in my Hoth crap? It's bad enough I got to do Phoenix. Why the hell is Hoth? Hoth. I got to do Rogue One. That's bogus.
Well, Rogue One. We know for sure Rogue One will dead at this point.
But I'm just saying, they're not required for anything else in the game. Some of those characters take a lot of resources to farm. It's just a huge investment, and you got to take them up a lot in gear. Unnecessary, uncalled for. It was a low blow for me. I was a cheap shot. I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing I would say would be to put another awesome character, or even two, into the shop, right next to Hermit Yoda. Just put two random cool guys in there so that you feel like you're working towards something awesome. So
I know.
At least when you're doing it, you're not just more gear for gear 12, which is fun, but it's my guy just hits a little harder or whatever.
So is that all you would do? You're okay with the actual battles themselves as long as you're getting better rewards, is what you're saying. Or
something. And I have less requirements for them. I don't want to have to use Rogue One. Rogue One is so far for me. I got my Phoenix. I got these other guys. I'm working on this and that. Really? I got to get Captain Han, Hoth Brothers, and Rogue One? Come on, man. Well, and I can only use my light ships. I can't even use my dark side ships. Come on, dude.
It would make a lot more sense for them to set it so it required rebels that weren't dead during the battle.
Yeah, Rogue One is just pull them out, and I feel like that's a minor change. Would anybody even notice if that node was just rebels or whatever instead?
Make it Biggs, Wedge, Leia, Han,
or whatever. Yeah,
Stormtrooper Han.
Or just make it need the OG rebels or something. We already need them for Commander Luke anyway.
Or how about this? Just require 2 tunes or 1 tune, not a 5-man dude. That's no 5-man thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the 5-man thing personally.
Me too, but we already got Phoenix and we already got a few 5-man things going on. Rogue One just doesn't belong there.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I enjoy the ability. See, one of the things I like about TB, and I'll just say this, and I really hope this doesn't change, is I like that I need multiple teams for it, and that I can take in and experiment with multiple teams and have a fun time playing teams that I don't normally get to play with. I don't normally get to use in the game,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about it the most is I go in there and I have a fun time because I'm using characters and teams that I don't really use much anywhere else in the game. And that's great. I enjoy that aspect of it. And I don't mean the required teams. I mean just random teams that I put together that work really well for it, So
I like that idea too. That's why I think that having so many requirements is just a little unnecessary and just takes away from the fun.
Yeah.
Nobody's really making or breaking on these requirements. We'd all feel a little better if you dropped Rogue One.
This brings in my problem with TB right now is that a lot of people are saying a lot of different stuff about Commander Luke, and I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know. I have a feeling as to when he's going to come back, but if he doesn't come back in the next couple of months, that is a slap in the face by putting him in TB and not allowing people a chance within some months to get him again for the sake of TB.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was December 4th was the time frame.
Well, that's what everyone's saying, but that's not been confirmed by anybody. So, CG hasn't said anything. That's just something going around in the community.
It was data mined, I believe. And one thing that I doubt they'll do this, but one thing they could do is, once you've 3-starred a certain, once you've completed 6 out of 6, a specific combat mission, the next time you can just automatically do it or something, so you don't have to play it every time.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about
Like
that.
you could even do
I don't
it
know
so
about that.
it would.
No, because the point of the combat missions is you go in there and you do it, and it's a challenge to do it every time, so you can go in and you get the points for your team. If you could just sim it every time, that would defeat the purpose of territory battles even being in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, but a lot of people that are complaining are guys that are getting very high combat missions done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of big rosters, a lot of spenders, so those people are unhappy because it's quite repetitive. I'm finding it's a lot of the same thing. For
So
example, resistance, it's the same every time.
don't use
So if I could,
if you're a whale, don't use resistance next time. Use a different team. Have fun with it.
well, yeah, but it's not fun once they know they can do it. If you're working on improving, if you're still trying to improve and do better and working on the best way to use the characters you've got, then
Yeah.
that's different. But once you're at the point where it's easy,
I'm sorry, but I don't see whales as legitimate complainers, in my opinion, because you spend all
you should
sorts
be
of money.
worried.
You spend all sorts of money to skip progression, and then you're complaining that you don't have progression, and it's like, okay, well, stop complaining.
Fine,
that you don't have progression.
it's very hypocritical, but unfortunately, if the whales are unhappy, or if the whales are unhappy and stop, the game's gonna die.
What are they gonna
Yeah,
do?
don't-
Well, tell
don't
me
fuck the
what they
whales,
do.
don't fuck the
What do they do? What do they do? Do they
Remove
make
roguelite.
it?
That's what they do.
Well,
Well,
no,
a
I know,
big
but
a big issue
for
with a lot of people
whales.
is the amount of time it's taking up, and I don't think anyone's worried about spending time if it's enjoyable or if it's the same thing every time. It's not enjoyable,
Yeah, I
and
don't-
for you and me, it's worth it because we're getting good rewards out of it. But for a whale, if they don't necessarily particularly need it for the rewards, except for Hermit Yoda, it's kind of feels like it's just another
Okay, but here's my problem
challenge
with
they got to do that they can't sim.
flip side for the whales, because the thing about it is people, I hear people complain about the game and like, this is repetitive, this is blah blah blah. I feel like those people don't really truly enjoy the game, because as a whole the game is very repetitive. Okay, as a whole, like if you look at every part of the game right now, arena is very repetitive. You're going up against the same teams. Right, you talk about Galactic War. No matter how your Galactic War is, it's very repetitive, whether you have really hard Galactic War or really easy Galactic War. Okay, same thing with TB is very repetitive. Once you've got the teams that you use for the raids down, that's repetitive too. So if you don't enjoy that, then you don't enjoy it, and you're never going to. And I don't feel like you should be sticking around. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my problem with people complaining about TB being repetitive. It's like, yeah, so what? Everything else is too.
Well,
What's your point?
what you're saying is completely correct, and I agree with you that this game is a collection game. It's a resource management game. It's a long haul game. So you're gradually over time improving your roster. You're gradually over time going to be working on all the specific teams to do well in all the specific areas, and the goal is to finish. But as free to plays, we never do finish because there's always new stuff, and that actually keeps it interesting. As far as it is annoying that we're gonna have to keep on working on new stuff, it keeps us busy. But as a pay to play player, obviously, a lot of the big whales, they're buying everything as soon as it comes out. They've got everything. And those are the people that are funding the game. Without them, there's no game. So yes, they're not necessarily playing the game correctly. The game's not supposed to be played like that. It's a collection game, not a. It's never going to be fun if you have everything. That's a fact. It's a collection game. It's a long haul game. But the fact is, people do spend money to get everything. So we need those people. So
there's people like Warrior who really truly enjoy the game, and I don't see him complain about stuff like that a lot. And I see him saying, yeah, I really love this game, I enjoyed it, I have a fun time with it, that's great and everything. And there's whales like that, because he is a whale. He has literally every character, almost every character at Gear 12 at this point. Okay, and he's good, he's happy, he's still enjoying it. That's the type of whale we
fine,
need.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But
there's whales like that. We don't
Here's
need
my
whales
issue.
who are
Yes, there
constantly
are.
complaining. This is kind of our last topic for the day. Let's talk about what we think is coming for the game in the next 2 months based on info we have, coming up. what do we think is coming over the next 2 months? We know about a character that they had a mask and they revealed their true face, right? So let's talk about that first, and then jump off of that and talk about just the next 2 months as a whole.
The obvious pick for me for the unmasked foe is immediately Kylo, especially considering that Kylo has been shown in the new trailers as not always having his mask. So, to me, that's the obvious pick for an unmasked foe. Vader could potentially work from the Rebels fight with Ahsoka, but I find it highly unlikely. I would like the Inquisitor from Rebels. I think that would be a nice one, especially considering, as you said, Rebels is going to be ending soon, so now it's time to get all the Rebels characters.
Well, it'll be nice to have several Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a whole team would be great. Since there's 7 of them, you could put 5 of them in the game and have a whole team. Have the Inquisitor be the legendary event, and then have the other ones. I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, but this is just my thought as to something they could do. They could have the other ones be marquee events or something else, something new, some new type of event, and then just have the Inquisitor be that, and you could, this would suck, but you could require Phoenix again for the Inquisitor. Because...
Well, it wouldn't really suck because...
Yeah, I already got my throne. I'd be happy. I'd be like, woo! First time I speak ever.
I don't do that.
I mean, like, I don't have them at gear 10 or anything, so, like, I don't know if I'd be able to get them at 7 stars if they did that, but I could see them doing that,
Well, it's either going to be a legendary event or a 2-year event.
Yeah, let's just hope it's not a 2-year event. Let's go for a legendary.
Hoping it's a legendary event, that it goes in November, and that it requires Sith, and then it's Grand Inquisitor, and then he has a Sith and Empire tag.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's my prediction and my plan. I think it's going to be.
I think that there's a strong possibility. So here's what I'm thinking. I think you could be very right, Furious, but I also think Brandon could be right, because they could release Kylo and then have his TIE fighter that he has in the movie release when the movie releases. Do you see what I'm saying? They could do it kind of thing where they could
seems a little bit early for that. That should be happening closer to the movie. I feel like if you remember Rogue One characters, they came out like some of them
before.
came out. No, some of
George
them
Trooper came out. They started in November.
Was released.
Yeah, they started in November.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, as far as having all of them in the game, like they didn't have all of them in the game and stuff for quite a long time.
But we're talking
so
about
they're
one
gonna be
character.
adding people from the next movie.
But we're talking.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But as far as the Last Jedi characters go, I think that most of them are going to come in December or after December. So as far as the next month, November, I think that we will get a legendary guy. And I think the Secrets and Shadows event is what is the big hint, since we got it twice.
So what else do you think we'll get in November besides that?
But don't we also get Kylo from that, though?
That's true.
No, you. I don't think you do. I think you just get his ship.
You fight him. You do fight
and
him.
I'm really surprised that we haven't seen anything from the new movie yet. Last year in August they announced Pathfinder. He was the log on for September, and we had Shore Trooper at the very start of November. Then we had Cassian, and we knew
BB-8,
about
which was sort of.
But Rogue One was a very different type of movie. Right? Do you guys agree with this? And I think that this is something I've thought a few times. Rogue One is a very different style movie. It's kind of a one-off, and it does its own thing and whatever. So they kind of hyped it up a little bit. Last Jedi is the opposite. Last Jedi is very secretive and mysterious, and they're keeping it very minimal.
They did.
So I feel like they're going to drop.
Yeah, but so was Rogue One. I mean, you'd think that the hype for this would be bigger.
So was the first movie in the saga, by the way. They released a bunch of characters before the movie. They released Phasma as a character in the game. They released Kylo as a character in the game before the movie came out.
I think for any characters that are going to be in The Last Jedi and could come into the game, if they're going to be released before the game, they have to be featured heavily in the trailers, so no one can go, "Oh, this is a spoil. This is this." Like, we're not going to have anything to do with Rey, not anything to do with Luke, probably not anything to do with any of the other rumored characters.
and not give anything away.
Well, that's why I think an unmasked Kylo doesn't do anything. It doesn't hurt anything for the movie.
Yeah, we know he's going to be unmasked. We see him smashing.
I disagree. What are his moves going to be, and what are they going to base them on?
Does it matter? Does it really affect that
Look
much?
at the current Kylo. His moves are direct animations from the movie. So, in my idea, the animations are going to correlate somehow or another.
I agree.
So I just disagree.
Yeah, but there's still moves from the last movie that he can do from that one, like his little force, what's called freeze and stuff like that. There's stuff they can.
I agree.
They can pull from the last movie.
I don't think that moves are that big.
In
of a
November, I just don't think in November they're gonna.
What's gonna be like? Oh,
something else.
He can do some cool new lightsaber trick that we assumed he'd probably be able to do.
Yeah, I don't think
Spoiler
it's a
alert.
spoiler. I don't.
Yeah, he could just have a leadership. I mean, the leadership wouldn't spoil anything.
Yeah, I think we should.
All right, how about this? What side would he be on? Dark side or light? Then you know if he's gonna be on what side of the movie.
This movie is a dark side movie. He's definitely dark side.
Yeah, but it's questionable if he's gonna stay dark side character.
That doesn't matter because that would be towards the end of the movie, and that wouldn't affect a character release.
Potentially, but you don't know that.
I don't think so.
It's like a 3-hour movie, dude.
I know.
Jedi Knight Anakin is from Revenge of the Sith, and he didn't stay in the light, but he's still a Jedi.
Exactly.
Right, but he spent 70% of that movie light side, right, and the last 30%
That's what
dark.
I'm saying. I think that
Even
if Kylo went
that's
light
just
side,
percentage B. You know, if it was the other percentage, he might have been dark side, right? That's what I'm saying.
even if Kylo went light side, I still think it wouldn't be for a majority of the movie.
And he's not an old foe. Nobody's buying that, right?
Really? 2 years?
Yeah, he's an old foe.
He's been in the game for 2 years.
Maybe we'll get maybe we'll get Dark Side Anakin.
How do you
familiar face?
It doesn't say familiar face. It said, okay, an old foe reveals their true face. That's what it said.
So I just don't see how it could be Kylo revealing his true face. What? So he just took off his mask. That true face? I don't know.
I don't see it for either of them, really.
Well, here's the reason why I feel that it is because of that Rey and Kylo scene when he's interrogating her, when she's like it's not easy when you're being hunted by a monster, and he goes and takes off his helmet and she sees his face. That's the only reason why I put a lot of weight on it's Kylo, because of that scene.
Yeah,
I see.
I think it's a possibility. I think both are possibilities. We'll have to wait and see.
It's possible that a lot of people don't know what Kylo actually looks like in the Star Wars universe. So he's actually going to officially become Kylo Ren and not have the mask anymore.
Yeah, quite possibly. So we'll have to see where it goes. It's coming up really soon here, so we'll see. What do you guys think about everything else though that's coming? What do you think is coming the next 2 months as a whole?
Do we think the Sith are going to be required for something?
I don't know.
Whether it's that old face or not, but it just seems like, that event came up twice, and that was kind of weird.
Maybe that's just a new cadence for that event.
I mean, that's a lot of shards.
Hey guys, maybe it's talking about Snoke.
Why?
Maybe.
So we're going to find out more about him or something.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't think so.
We've only seen the holo projector.
I highly doubt they're going to put Snoke in the game with moves and abilities before he comes out and we see those in the movie. I do.
We've seen him doing some stuff in the trailers.
Not enough.
I
Maybe
agree.
some support.
He might come out after the movie or when the movie comes out.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that they would release him later.
I'm either going Grand Inquisitor or is it Callus, right? Is that his name? Callus? It could also be him, the guy from the Rebels
But he's not
show.
a foe.
Because he turns light side.
Right, but he's like
True
a double.
face.
He's like a double agent, so it's like an old foe, and he reveals his true face. He's actually a good guy.
Yeah,
you know?
they could do one of those two. They could.
That made more sense to me because, like, when somebody reveals their true face, it's not about changing their actual face. When you say somebody shows their true face, that always means that they showed something in their character.
Oh, here's what we think is happening with the game in the next 2 months. Not just this one event, but everything else going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think dark side territory battle is going to come up faster than people think.
okay, when?
December, end of November, maybe.
Guild v Guild?
No, I think that Darkseid will come out before Guild v Guild. Makes more
Okay.
sense.
Do you think? What do you think about character releases besides the ones we've talked about?
Well, I think that Inferno Squadron's got to happen. We know cross promote with Battlefront 2. I think that's going to be November.
But that could actually be Guild vs Guild, because we know Guild vs Guild is going to be Jakku, and
True.
we're probably going to see some more stuff based around Jakku, I'd imagine.
That's why I think that Guild versus Guild, you're looking more like January or like February, because think of it this way. Like, so if we get Darkseid TB like early December, end of November, then we get the Last Jedi movie that's going to come out and add, probably all kinds of characters. And
How many
then we could
characters do you
use
think
them
we'll get in December?
with the movie. At least 5, right? Like modest estimate, at least 5, right?
How many light? How many dark?
See, that's hard to say because last time how many did we get?
Well, it
Trying
was
to
a
think.
rogue. It was a Rebels focused movie, so that's not fair.
Right.
This
No,
is
I
a
was
dark
thinking
side
Rogue
focused
One.
movie.
Rogue One, we got Krennic and we got his homie, and then I don't know. So maybe it'll be the opposite. Maybe we'll get 7 total. Maybe it'll be 5 and 2.
But like, do you think that there's more light side characters in this movie, even though it's a dark side focused movie, than for them to release? Like,
Well, let's count them off. Well, we know you're gonna get Rey with the glow stick. You probably get.
I don't think we're
Grandmaster
gonna get
Luke.
her in December.
I'm not saying we will either, but maybe she's gonna be coming out of the movie.
Well, we're talking
later
the
down
next 2 months. So in December, what are we gonna get? What do you think?
Well, that just depends on the cadence. So if I think who's going to come out in December, it's going to be the low guys. Whatever first order guys they give us. If it's a trooper, a snow trooper, a flame trooper, or a guy that rides in a tank, it'll be one of those kind of guys, the peon types.
Do you think we'll get the Praetorian Guard?
Yeah, see, that's a good guess. Maybe he'll be one of them. It just depends on the cadence that they choose.
I think
Which
I
is,
would
like,
love the Praetorian
possible
Guard.
to
It would be
speculate.
another guard character for the First Order, so I don't have to focus on freaking First Order Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And he's a cool character. And then they could do, like you said, the Flame Trooper, or like
Or you'll get you'll get a couple of resistance guys, or you'll get the randoms first, and then later you'll probably get a Kylo Ren and a.
You don't think we'll get a
like
named
that.
character, a different version of a named character we already have
Not on day one, I don't think.
in December? I mean, as a whole, you don't think it'll?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that'll be more like January or maybe the month after even.
Because they probably go on a 2-week break for Christmas, right? So for last week of December, first week January, it's usually what development studios do. So we have to get everything before that point, right?
Well, think of it this way. So far from what we know of this movie, there's not going to be a 5-man squad, right? Unless it's like the Knights of Ren or something,
I don't think we're gonna
outlandish
see
like
much
that.
of that, honestly.
Neither do I, but I'm just saying, like, with Rogue One, they had a 5-man team throughout the whole movie. So, like, it was pretty simple. You knew you were going to get those 5. Whereas this movie, you're like, there aren't so many named faces like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, like, because I feel like
So
Rey...
I think that they'll shift priority and make the named guys bigger, and then they'll have some smaller guys too. Does that make sense? So like Jin, Jin's a good character, but she's not a legendary or something like crazy like that. Whereas Lightsaber Rey, or maybe Kylo with no mask, or Scarface Kylo, whatever you want to call him, maybe he will be.
Do we think Snoke is coming in with this movie or not?
It just depends what he does, who he
Yeah.
turns out to be. He might turn out to be, somebody way different than we realize. So who knows?
What would you like to see as a whole over the next 2 months? But all of you.
Guild v Guild.
Guild v Guild? You want to see Guild v Guild? Is there anything else you want to see?
Jedi Ray in December.
Okay.
So before the new year, let's say, right? Before
Yeah.
the new year.
What do you want to see?
Wow, you think Jedi Ray? Is she going to be called Jedi Ray? She'll
No.
be actually Jedi?
She'll be
No.
apprentice. She'll be a Jedi in training. I think that's like the official name they're giving her, like in training or something
I
like that.
disagree. I don't think she's a Jedi. at all.
Does she get a Jedi tag?
No, I don't think so.
Probably.
So she's still Resistance then?
Yeah, we're in complete disagreement. I don't think Rey's a Jedi. I don't think she's going to be a Jedi. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
We'll find out in 2 months. Okay.
No, yeah, I agree. She's not gonna have the Jedi tag because CLS doesn't have the Jedi tag.
Yeah, right. I was thinking, if anything, if CLS didn't get it, she probably, is a few steps away. She's about a movie away from a Jedi tag,
And we've kind of learned from like
and that's maybe.
we probably won't even learn about who she is really in this movie. So like it's not like they're going to be able to just put a last name on her or something, you know.
Yeah.
So
So if I wanted anything in the next 2 months, I want November, and I want the Grand Inquisitor as a legendary event requiring 5 Sith. That's what I'm hoping
that's
for.
what you want. Okay. What about
Seems
you?
like it could be a thing. I'm hoping.
What about you, Sith?
I just like to catch up.
Same here. There's a
So
lot of people.
if we got nothing, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But, I'd like to see something, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I want to catch up too. I would love to see the Grand Inquisitor personally, and I personally would love to see November be a month where we focus on Battlefront and Star Wars Rebels and bring more Imperials into the game. Maybe do a mini Imperial rework. Probably not going to happen, but I'd like
They don't
to see
need
it.
one.
Yeah, they do. Palpatine
Just
needs
a buff.
Palpatine needs one. Vader needs one. The Royal Guard
No.
needs one.
Palpatine just needs a Zeta. He doesn't need a rework.
Yeah, I don't think they need reworks. I think they
You
just
know what I
need
mean?
a few little
A
extras.
rework includes Zetas, in my opinion.
You could just give them ×2 damage.
Like people that don't have good Omegas and stuff, maybe they can bulk them up a little bit. Like
Palpatine-
Chopper is a good example. Chopper's new Omega is awesome. Why can't they just do
Yeah.
it like that?
Yeah, Palpatine and Vader and all
Right?
that.
Doesn't even have to be a Zeta.
I feel like Palpatine and Vader and Royal Guard should have synergy, honestly, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, so that would be cool to see something like that. And then
You know what? Let's throw this out there. If they do maybe territory battles or something, maybe it's a sneaky one, separatist rework, that'd be
No,
pretty awesome.
I don't think it's gonna happen this year. I just don't think there's room.
Grievous, and it'd be awesome.
I don't think there's room. I don't think there's room
Well,
for it.
I'm just saying there have been a few hints lately in my mind with things that say plus droids, and I was
Yes,
thought
but
that
think
was kind of
about
weird.
what's in the media right now, right? And you've got Rebels,
I mean, I agree with you.
Battlefront.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
as far as the game goes, there have been 2 characters added to the game or in the game already that have had their abilities to include droids again suddenly for no reason.
Yeah, I think
so,
they're slowly building up to it, and I think it'll happen next year.
Same time with when the Sith and Nihilus, I got the rework and drop, which is like what,
Like
January or
March.
February.
Personally, I want Guild v Guild before I want Darkside TB, and I do think Guild v Guild will come in December.
I think in November.
Maybe, possibly, but I don't know. I don't think they'd want to. I don't think they'd want to do that because there's going to be a lot of people playing Battlefront, and I don't think they want to take away necessarily from Battlefront people because it is the same company.
Well, see, it's going to come out in late November was because of what you said earlier. They go on vacation the last bit of December, and they don't want that thing to crash or go something wrong while they're not in office.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe we won't see either of them this year. You know, that being the case, if I think what I'm starting to think actually.
so
based on you
legendary
saying-
event seems like a safer bet, don't you think?
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't think we'll see Guild v Guild or Darkside Territory battles the rest of this year if we don't see it in
January.
November. Yeah, if we don't see it in November, we won't see it. I don't think.
Agreed.
So
So we'll call that official prediction.
yeah, that's official. But for all of us, you all agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think it won't. I think they may announce it.
Yeah, they may talk about it. I think they're definitely going to talk
Yeah,
about
or
it.
something. They'll show some pictures or something. Maybe
Show
say the
some
place
footage.
that's going to be.
Give some game
Yeah.
changers some footage or something. You know.
I do hope that it's Dark Side before Guild v Guild, though, just because it would make more sense to me. I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that, but I think they're going to do. I personally just think that from a content standpoint, Guild v Guild makes more sense first because they want to give people time to build up their dark side with the new dark side characters that are coming into the game.
I also
But I mean,
think
it kinda goes
that
both ways.
No, Guild
See,
v Guild use anybody, so I don't know.
thinking like Guild v Guild, you're going to be able to mix and match anybody. And I feel that the reason they probably want to push out Guild v Guild is because a lot of the complaint about territory battles is that it's boring. And I feel that since Guild v Guild is not going to be PvE, it's going to be PvP, that it's going to add a little bit more of a challenge where people just can't go in there and auto battles anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good thought. It is a lot more stimulating.
I think Guild v Guild just a thought on Guild v Guild. I think it should be once a month thing, in my opinion.
Well,
It's going to rotate, right?
I don't think it should. No
Depends
one
how
said that. That's what
in-depth it
everyone's
is,
saying. But
What I would assume, because I don't think they're going to run both at the same time. I think it's just probably going to be like one, then the other, then the other, and
I don't
again
think
and again.
so. I don't think Guild v
Like,
Guild
what if
is
you
on
only
that.
have to do one? What if you only have to do one battle or two battles? You know,
Yeah.
you just have to beat your dude or whatever. It's every man in your guild has to fight though. It's 50 people, so that's like 100 battles or whatever. But each man only has to do 2. It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, I don't think Guild v Guild is going to be on a rotation with territory.
And maybe you have
battles.
to pick who you match up with. You know, that'd be fun if it was just dodgeball style. You just like, hey, everybody has to pick a man, and then when it comes down to the end, whoever has the most points wins or whatever. Does that make sense? You could pick the team you want to fight against as a guild.
Yeah.
That's going to get messy really quick, though.
I don't mean the guild. Like within the team, like, oh, this guild versus this guild. Okay, I'm gonna take my attack. I could pick who I fight against. But once I attack them, they're out of the pool. Nobody else could choose them. So you could let your like bigger people take harder, matches or whatever.
Yeah.
Like dodgeball. That's the only way I can think of it. Like dodgeball rules. You pick one person at a time. Because that's what the board looked like, kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, perhaps that's how it will be. Perhaps that's what's going to happen.
And you might have to do it to go across the board or whatever, but...
So, so final predictions is that Guild v Guild or Territory Battles will have to happen in November or they won't happen, simply because of the break that development studios take, and they'll want to be there for it. The second thing is we think that it's either going to be Kylo or the Inquisitor or the other person,
and Callus.
And then hopefully we'll see something to do with some dark side characters, some more dark side characters. Probably like 5 characters from The Last Jedi in December. And now for Brendo's pre-recorded thoughts on everything we discussed today.
Way of doing Wicked especially was a little disappointing because when the cadence with which they did it, they didn't tell us that they were going to have that 3 or 4 month stretch or 4 to 8 week stretch where he wasn't in the game. So it just felt like they forgot about him. And then not only did they forget about him, but there was just no follow up whatsoever, which was unfortunate and kind of kept me from like working on and developing my Ewoks because I didn't know when they were going to bring Wicket back. So kind of dropped them. And now that they brought the Wicket structure back and we know how Talzin's going to work, I don't know. I kind of feel like they put a gun to the free-to-play player's head in the sense that we have the opportunity to spend money, about $300 on the 5 to 330 shard packs for Talzin, or we take 2 years or so to farm her, which to me, her and Wicket, a 2-year farm it's not that it's bad because it's sort of like, I get the idea that you want to make it easier for people who spend money on the game to advance in the game. That's a given. But I just feel like 2 years is crazy. If you think back to how long it took people to get Baze and Chirrut, I think that should be your benchmark. And anything that takes longer is sort of absurd. And anything quicker than that, it should be felt like it's a gift and that you're lucky. Truthfully, I got Nihilus quicker than I got Baze. So, that something like that, it's possible to get the characters quickly. A single hard node doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It just means it takes time. So, when I say that they put the gun to the free-to-play player's head, it's not that, we're being, coerced into doing something. It's just that I think everybody wants to get a character at a reasonable amount of time, and 6 months to 9 months is kind of like a window that I think is acceptable. 2 years is a little bit absurd. When you factor in, the consequences that a free-to-play player is going to give up by not having a 7-star Wicket and a 7-star Talzin, it's not really anything to do with raids or PvP. The big thing for me is the mods you get from Wicket and then the Zetas you get from Talzin. So those are pretty big, especially the Zetas, I think, because if you do the math, that's going to be an extra 2 to 4 Zetas every month, 4 to 8 Zetas if you're refreshing it. And, it adds up. And if you could talk about a handful of extra character Zetas, full-on Zetas, that makes a difference in Arena. It makes it easier to adapt to changing metas, new raids. With Dark Side Territory Battles coming up, you basically need to Zeta twice the characters. People are focused on light side now. dark side eventually, and the people that have the 7-star talisman are going to have a strong advantage going into that. So, I mean, I don't mind the cadence. It's just the speed. If it was week, for instance, I don't think that's game breaking. And if you do the math, if it's once a week, that would be I think you need 250 shards. That's still a 25-week farm, which I don't feel like is unacceptable or anything. It's the 2-year farm, the once a month, 10 shards a month, maybe 20 with the refresh, that I think is going to be a problem for people. So yeah, that's where I'm at there. I don't like it. I think it's probably the worst farming cadence that we've seen, and it's doubly bad when you think that start really until 3 months out. It's just going to be put on ice. Okay, so what I think about Ewoks, it's a little bit divided, because on one hand, I never in my right mind would have thought that I would spend energy farming Ewoks and Night Sisters, basically over a 3-month period to have to focus on 2 of the most irrelevant factions in the game, because it just sort of makes me feel like there's already enough on my plate as it is, and just gave 2 full factions. Now, on the other hand, I will say that I think the Ewoks are pretty promising in terms of the gameplay. They're fun. Same with the Night Sisters. They both look like they're going to be really fun factions. I play a lot of Resistance now, and I wouldn't say Resistance is fun. Resistance is incredibly effective. It's just they have a gimmick. Once the train starts running, it's pretty much unstoppable. So Resistance very reliable. But with the Ewoks and with the Night Sisters, you get. I think those are 2 very fun factions to play. So I will say that the gameplay looks really good. As far as gearing goes, it's sort of a mixed bag. The older ones tend to be pretty easy to gear. The newer ones are average. I don't think there was anything crazy that I remember from Ewoks or from Night Sisters. So that's good. But I really enjoyed the Wicked event when they gave us the Gear 10 Ewoks. That was a lot of fun. That had Zetas. It was a really fun little mini raid. So I think that's a plus. Like, I like the idea of doing a mini raid for Wicked. I think that's really cool. I just feel like tying the character farming mechanic to that was a little bit of a mistake. If there's not going to be another way to do it, or another way to increase or speed up how quickly you get shards. Yeah, I think Ewoks are a good move. It took me a while to warm up to them, but they took 2 factions that were in the doghouse, completely irrelevant to the game, and they made them relevant. So they gave us another tool in the toolbox. I think it was Furious that was saying that. So that's good. The more options you have, the more choice you have in the game. But I wouldn't recommend them to somebody starting the game. They're just a little bit niche. Like sometimes they fit in different old raid rosters for folks. Now they're pretty much like total synergy teams, that give a lot of raid viability. I don't think really either. I don't think they're as strong as some other factions, but I think they're really fun. So I think, I'd say both are going to be factions that I'd like to give a try. It's just unfortunate that you have the 2 strongest characters, and it's not so much a paywall; it's a time wall. That's pretty crazy. What I think about the rule change on the forum, I don't think that it really did anything new. I think anybody that had any experience on the Star Wars main Swgoh forums knew that it was sort of a heavy-handed. I mean, when you have, like, I just remember they had a thread that was stickied for months called "Where did my post go?" And like anytime you have to explain to somebody that their post was either moved somewhere else or it was just closed. There's a heavy-handed moderation. But what I will say, in defense or rationalization for EACG, pretty much every game that I've ever played has had a really heavy-handed, almost fascist forum moderation. And in some senses, I mean, you can get away with a little more on the EA forums than you can in others that I've been involved in. I mean, you just kind of have to put a smiley face on the forums, and anytime there's dissent, what I will say is that they close threads. They don't necessarily delete them. They just disappear, like in some game forums. I want to say when I played Warcraft that threads would mysteriously disappear if they were determined to be needed to be moderated like that. So, I mean, on one hand, yeah, it sucks, but on the other, you never really could talk about there. And I think most people communicate on Reddit about the game. But really, if you read, I'll tell you, going to the forums is never fun. I mean, it's they're just very negative. There's not a lot of fun. I think Reddit's a little bit better, but it's pretty bad as well. They just don't have the rules. I think it's not going to change anything, these new rules. The one thing that I wonder is, like, if somebody asks a question like, hey, do you think it's worth buying this pack? And I say, well, I don't think it's a good value. Is that something that be moderated against? I mean, I understand the nuance here. If somebody says, don't buy this, it's a ripoff. That's one thing. I get it. But if somebody says, is this a good value? Are you allowed to say, no, it's a horrible value? That situation reverses itself because if you recall that old pack they used to run for the Empire's, the Palpatine event, it was a real garbage pack where you got like Farm Boy Leia, there's all the New Hope characters, but they had Hoth Rebel Soldier in it. I think there's like 80 shards there. So all of a sudden that pack maybe has more value than it ever did now. So something like that you could say is a positive and point that out positively on the forums. On the other hand, like, some of their packs are really pointless. And if somebody asks about that, like the 5 to 330 packs, obviously the answer is no, it's stupid. It's a horrible value. It's weird like that. The new mod packs, if you compare them to the old mod packs, they're a ripoff. Why would, if anybody asks if it's a good value, is that the kind of thing that's going to get you banned on the forums? If so, maybe focus on Reddit and just abandon the forums altogether. That'd be my biggest question about how they want to moderate it. Well, so what I think about that is that the forums are already kind of a twisted, dark labyrinth of people who would whine about stupid shit and people who just mindlessly praise everything that happens. I mean, it's really there's no gray area. It's just two extremes that are constantly at war with each other. I don't personally get a lot of enjoyment out of the forums. And I think that everybody that's a developer for the game is pretty active on Reddit too. So it's not like they're unaware that Reddit's a more active community. I do see what you guys are talking about here, which is that, what does that say about the life of the game? It's in keeping with most official forums on a good thing. But, there have been games that have been around a long time that have had really almost fascist forum rules. And, generally what happens is people create their own communities outside of that, which is why we use stuff like Discord, Reddit. So I think in a lot of ways it kind of like doesn't hurt the livelihood of the game. It just, or the vitality of the game, it kind of makes people take an extra step, in a sense, strengthen like those little like insular communities, whether it's a guild, cluster, alliance, whatever, differently, because you're not getting the support from the game itself. But really, I don't think the rules changes are that big of a deal. It's just typical EA doing what they do best. Yes. What I think about the survey would be that's kind of nice that they did it. I wasn't one of the lucky ones to get the survey, but it doesn't surprise me that most of the feedback they got was negative, because even though people play the game every day, multiple times a day, people are definitely love the game and are addicted to the game and invested in the community that's built around the game. It's no surprise that the feedback would be hilariously negative, and anybody would love the opportunity to talk ill on what they have to do in the game, territory battles, the time demands of the game. So that's no shock there. I mean, one thing for me that's been a staple of the game since I started playing was Galactic War, and at this point, I dread it every day. It's like a really bitter berry to eat every day, and some days it's to the point where I just kind of don't do it, which is the first time, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks now. With territory battles, I just do Galactic War less and less. which is gimping my progress in the game because I still am farming some ships out of there and Night Sister Initiate. So there's some things that I want from the store, but it's just a burden to put up with a lot of the game demands. And I think Territory Battles is the same way. When you're fighting the same fight 4 or 5 times, this, your special events that maybe there's a handful of, maybe 5 or 6 throughout the territory battle. They're 3 levels. It's like 6 levels for a regular territory battle, and it's like there's a lot of them, and it's the same mobs that you're fighting. So it's a little bit frustrating to me. It's not fun. There's really no deviance, or not deviance, but there's really no diversity in what you're required to do. There's no deviation in late. It's the same battle that you fight over and over again. It's rough. So I'm not shocked by that. Not to mention, from an officer's perspective, it's a nightmare to organize. And if they're going to do guild versus guild, they're going to double down on what's required. And if they run light side territory battles, dark side territory battles, and guild versus guild at the same time, I don't even know from a management perspective, it's going to be a lot of time. It's going to be a sinkhole, and it's going to really hurt the game. So I hope they got the message there, and try to make the game a little bit more fun. And like the territory battles, but it's just the actual doing them. It feels like a really long galactic war. Think about that is that I think a lot of people for a long time are real negative Nancy's when it comes to anything. Anytime they talk about anything on a forum about a game, it's going to be a complaint. But at the end of the day, we all play the game. That said, I think a lot of times, there's a mix of, maybe communicating your displeasure in a more constructive manner would help more. But at the same time, everybody kind of thinks that they're, forced to bring new things into a game. When at the end of the day, you just need to shut up and play it. There's negativity, but there's always been negativity. I mean, truthfully, since I started playing the game, people would complain about things, whether it was having to farm for Palpatine if you didn't have rebels. Pretty much the same stuff, whether you felt like you're being railroaded into opening up your wallet to get through the gear crunch. Pretty much anything that's recently it was having to get old Ben for Commander Luke Skywalker. So there's like a mix. I'm forgiving on some things because, there are certain requirements, Commander Luke, for instance, that I think, people should have planned for. Especially coming off the heels of Thrawn, where they tossed a new faction down your throats and basically said you have two weeks to 7-star them and to get this character. I did not do that. I wasn't able to do that. I had everybody that was 6-star, but I couldn't even beat the 6-star version of the challenge, so I had to live with this 5-star Thrawn until the last time it came around. So I know what it's like, but I think a lot of people. A lot of people need to put that in perspective, that you're not going to get everything immediately. That's not the way the game's designed. But there's a lot of legitimate concerns that I think people are having. Game health-wise, I think a lot of people, older accounts, are leaving the game. That's not good. I think it's necessarily territory battles doing it, but I think a lot of what territory battles did to guilds absolutely comes into play there. But it's also kind of how people adjust to that. You don't need to be in a guild that's going to get 45 stars in territory battles. It's not realistic. If you can get away with 40 plus, you're in a really good spot. If you can get away with 35 plus, you're in a good spot, And then every week you just try to improve from that. You're not going to get it immediately, so I think people need to, unless you're a super whale, which is fine, and that's what they're going to do. But, not everybody does that, and they certainly pay the cost for that privilege, which is small and fleeting because everybody's going to be there in 4 months anyway. So I think people just need to put things in perspective. But at the same time, there's completely legitimate concerns. I mean, the Phoenix thing was kind of shifty. I'm not pleased with the Wicked Intels and stuff. Every time I think they do something good when it comes to communicating things and sort of better and taking steps to involve players. It just seems like they shoot themselves in the foot with poor management. Probably the lowest point for me was the EA Play video where they were like out front of a truck, and it was just pathetic. When you think about how much revenue the game produces, and you have like these three yahoos like trying to talk about, Thrawn's coming, it's going to be great, and it was bad. It was pathetic. That was my low. So right now they're better than that, but I do not really appreciate the trend that I see developing, which is that you're looking at a 2-year time wall for a character versus spending money. That's insane. I'm not going to do that. I don't think anybody should do that. That's craziness. Okay, so one big thing on the forums is like, people saying, whoever asked for guild versus guild anyway, which is hilarious to me because I remember when they announced guild versus guild before, when they were talking about initially, before territory battles was even a phrase that people knew. People would talk about guild versus guild. That was supposed to be the new game mode, and everybody was jazzed about it. Unfortunately, that sort of never happened, and we got territory battles instead, which felt like they didn't have the code in the game to do a guild versus guild properly, so they gave us this sort of half-assed PvE thing. But now people are like, well, whoever asked for guild versus guild? But really, it was everybody. If you read the forums back then, it was a popular idea. People loved it, and it was something that we talked about. Then people were disappointed we never got guild versus guild, and we got territory battles instead. And now that they sort of announced dark side territory battles and guild versus guild, people are like, well, whoever asked for that anyway? So it's kind of silly. And, there's certain people you'll never please. People that weren't involved in the game. I mean, the way games work is that hopefully you have players that weren't around then that picked up the game, got hot on it, and, didn't have that sort of history from 8 months ago. That's your perfect player, is somebody that dives in and just starts supporting them. So I could see that being valid, but realistically, I think most people asking that question knew very well that guild versus guild was on the map and on the radar long before territory battles was. So, to me, territory battles feels like the sellout version of guild versus guild. So I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a long time to get guild versus guild, because it's either going to be one of the old tournaments that we did, or they could do something a little bit more exciting with it, which I hope they do. I just don't know how they do it. Set it up to be a little more interactive or like live combat. I don't think we'll ever be able to see that in the game. I don't think the game's programmed to do that. I think it's a little bit funny that people have that attitude that nobody ever asked for it and they're throwing it down our throat when we wanted it desperately months ago. But I think really people need to not forget that raiding is more fun for people for a couple reasons. When you build the tickets up, you run the raid, and then there's that downtime between raids. Raids are built around mechanics. You can learn the mechanic of the raid. You get better at it. You try different character compositions. It's simple problem solving, but people enjoy it more. Territory battles will always be second to raids. So I think we desperately need a raid right now. And I think that is, without a doubt, a Death Star raid, to involve ships, to get people using ships in a way that's actually exciting. They talked about how it was fun that we could use territory battles and ships, but really, it's the same ship battle that we've had for over a year. So it's not really doing anything new. It's just, I'd like to do something different with ships. And I think the way to do that is incorporate ships into a raid phase. Whether it's just one phase, multiple phases, however it would go, the Death Star is where it should be. Because it's Star Wars, So I think that would be nice. Not to mention, I can imagine the character that you'd get at the end of that, like OG Han or General Kenobi. I imagine that would be pretty cool. You have a lot of good options there. Over the next 2 months. Today is, I believe, the 24th of October. I'm sorry. It is October 25th. I think in the next 2 months, we're going to see 6 new characters. We're going to have a release date. Side territory battles. It's not going to launch, but I think they'll give us a release date. I think we're going to know who is the new face that they were talking about. My bet there is on Jedi Ray, grin of the Kylo without a mask crowd. But I think we're going to know who that is. I don't think the event's going to drop, but I think we're going to know who it is. I think we should be farming the veterans, Han and Chewie. I think we should touch up our First Order. I think we should touch up our Resistance because they're going to be the two dominant factions. I really think people should focus on, put Ewoks and Night Sisters on the back burner just to start doing the starring and maybe some of the low-level gearing. But I think we're going to get at least 6 characters. I think we're going to have a date for Dark Side Territory battles. I think we're going to know who the new character is that's going to get reworked. And I also think I'm going to go on a limb. I think that General Grievous is going to get reworked by then. I feel like 2 months from now's the time to strike for that old bastard. And I also think that we should probably start all looking at Jedi, because I think Jedi is going to be the new meta. And where people start dropping Hermit Yoda in Arena, people are going to have to adapt to that. 2 months from now, I think R2D2 is still going to be the most used character on the meta report.
Yes, well, thank you for listening. This is coming at you from the Sigma Alliance conglomerate of guilds. If you're looking for a guild to join, come and join us. We've got a number of guilds for you to join, and a great community of people. And if you want to talk to us, a lot of us hang out in voice chat, so you're welcome to come into a Discord and talk to us as well. Please, do all the fun stuff, like, comment, and subscribe. We want to hear from you, what you have to say about what we think, what your thoughts are on all this stuff. It's all about community and getting better with growing out that community. So let's see what you think in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, guys.